Welcome back to the United Pubcast, the official Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney for a bit of a replacement for the Friday night pint. I'll be unable to record tomorrow night for the Friday night pint, and obviously Larry is gallivanting around Europe. I think he's in Croatia at the moment, so treat this as your bit of a Friday night pint. So grab a drink and sort of get anything in the live chat you do want to discuss. Just a bit of a casual chat. Got a good mate of ours, Vin, who you've all seen before on the podcast. We're just sort of reminiscing about the Melbourne trip. It was only a week ago, but it feels a lifetime ago. We're just discussing sort of COVID stories and both recovering from that trip. But talk to me, Vin. How's things, mate?
Things been pretty good, especially after what we went through over the last few days. But and now can't wait to get back outside and enjoy the pub, of course, enjoy a drink and whatnot. But yeah, what a wonderful week it was in Melbourne. Yeah, I can just go on and on.
Yeah. Well, you speak about the pub, obviously the Man United Supporters Club here in Sydney. We obviously looked at the kick-off times. The Premier League obviously starts very soon. The Premier League less than 2 weeks until Man United do play Brighton. But the first friendly kick-off time for us here in Sydney is, I think it's a third game. It's the third or fourth. It might be the fourth game potentially against, I think it's Southampton away. It's a 9:30 p.m. kick-off on a Saturday night here in Sydney. So if you are in Sydney and do fancy a bit of a beverage on a Saturday night watching United play, Erik Ten Hag making it 4 from 4. Please come down to Scruffy Murphy's, but we'll share all the details of that a little bit closer to the evening. There are obviously 3 big hurdles before that, and none bigger than the Liverpool game. So we'll discuss all that, and we'll actually discuss a little bit of football on this podcast, Vin, in regards to let me get all of my fixtures. But I think we're playing Atletico Madrid in a couple of days. So I think that's a bit of a match to preview. Obviously, we've got the Rayo Vallecano game as well a day or two later. And by all reports, Man United played last night. This time last night, Christian Eriksen scored for Manchester United. And there's been a bit of discrepancy on who the other goal scorers were. I have a feeling from one of the 2 reliable people, Charlie McNeil played, and Charlie McNeil scored. And I think there was an own goal, and I forget who scored the other goal. So it would be interesting to get your thoughts in the live chat. Rob, actually, we'll just say good day to some live people in the live chat. And this is a comment I did want to ask someone about. I haven't seen it confirmed, but Rob in the live chat, good to see you, mate. Martinez, number 6, official. Can we get some confirmation that is the number 6? Obviously, Paul Pogba did vacate that. I was thinking shirt numbers in regards to Martinez and Christian Eriksen. So I do see him as a number 6. So do let me know if that is confirmed. Ashby, good to see you, mate. How do you go, Ashby, in regards to getting back from Melbourne COVID-free? Because you obviously did spend a bit of time with us. Don't know your status. And Adam, obviously, on the podcast a couple of nights ago, good to see you, mate. And evening to good mate, obviously, took it back with him to Perth. Ian, hope everyone is well over in Perth and keeping safe. Nice to see Vin on side. Yes, a little bit of a pro clubs reference for a little bit of well, we're doing well in pro clubs, but yeah, Vin does have a tendency to forget the offside rule from time to time. Adam, Garnacho, apparently he was one player who did play and got a goal. And Vin, Rob, confirming that Lisandro Martinez will be the number 6. So I do like that. My main issue, Vin, with these squad numbers, and in regards to the back line, obviously Phil Jones, we can have an opinion on him. Is he holding the number 4 or whatever? Should someone else have that? Sure, that's another debate. Victor Lindelof, I think, is starting to come into his own as a Man United player and starting to improve and doing well. I still don't like him as a number 2. It throws me every time I see him as centre-back with a number 2 shirt. Tell me I'm dreaming or tell me I'm delusional or I'm overthinking it, but I just hate the look of it.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit one-off. And ever since he's been at United, he's always been donning the number 2 jersey, and he is kind of comfortable with it. Regarding the players and the numbers, it's again, as football is evolving, some might say we have to look forward from just allocating players, the positions they play. Probably they should use only that numbers. For example, of course, we are going to have a chat about Christian Eriksen and Bruno. Bruno is wearing number 8, and Eriksen, someone just confirmed he's going to wear number 14. So we should look away from it. But yeah, as an old schooler, and all of us who are in the podcast right now, like we are all romantics towards the football game. So I think, yeah, Lindelof wearing number 2, that should definitely change. But yeah, only time can tell.
Well, we'll get into all things Lisandro Martinez in a little bit, because I think a lot of people over the last 24 hours or so has seen all the interviews and the photos. And we did know Martinez was confirmed a couple of weeks ago, or even in Melbourne. So this time last week, we knew Martinez was a United player, but it does just hit a little bit different when you do see the photos and you see the official interviews. So we'll go through him in a little bit. And Tad here saying we're going to use Martinez as a defensive midfielder. I'm happy about that. It will be very interesting. I'm trying to find where he fits in regards to, well, you're not dropping Harry Maguire. Rafael Varane's fit. He's going to be playing. Victor Lindelof's probably the better performing centre-back out of all three of them at the moment, sort of thing. So it is hard to find that spot for Lisandro Martinez when you assume he's going to be a central defender. But there is potentially room in that central midfield, especially if Frenkie de Jong doesn't come in. We're going to need numbers. So we'll be interested in, maybe we'll get an inclination against Atletico Madrid, what Erik ten Hag is thinking in regards to the use of Lisandro Martinez. And Ashby, he's saying, I did get COVID, only went back to work today. Yeah, sorry about that, Ashby. We probably passed it on to you, but hope you are keeping well. But look, as the title suggests, Finn, and make sure everyone gets their thoughts in the live chat in regards to Christian Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. Now, I don't want this to turn into a versus, like it's a battle between the two and sell one if the other one's playing well. Something. I don't want that to be the case. I think it's a good situation to be in. If Bruno Fernandes is playing well, Christian Eriksen's on the bench. Well, that's good because Bruno's playing well. If Christian Eriksen's banging in goals and creating chances for our strikers and Bruno's on the bench, well, if Christian Eriksen's doing well, I'm happy. So I don't want this to turn into a battle between the two. But it is a very interesting debate because they are polar opposites in the way they play the game. Now, Bruno Fernandes, since he's come in, whether you like him or don't like him, he's someone who sort of has carried United for a long period of time in regards to results. Whatever you think of his performances, he's someone who delivers in the final third of the pitch where it's so often needed and where it's so often teams that do lack. So he does have a tremendous ability to do that. Now, Christian Eriksen, I think a lot of people might argue, is a better footballer in regards to keeping things ticking over and playing the possession game, which is obviously so vital to Erik ten Hag. So there are sort of pros and cons. We'll have this debate with Anthony Martial and Ronaldo. We're probably a better team with Anthony Martial as the striker, but ultimately when the ball falls into the back in the final third, you want the ball dropping to Ronaldo. It's sort of how you weigh up on how you sort of view the game and how you want to see the game being played. But I think we're going to have this debate with Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes. So first of all, Vin, before we sort of dissect it and get into what Erik ten Hag will want, I had Bruno Fernandes. He's our number 10. Whatever anyone thought of his performances last season, he's the number 10. He's got the new bumper contract at Old Trafford. Suddenly, a player in his position comes in under the new manager, Christian Eriksen. Just what have you made of the arrival of Christian Eriksen? Like, way up in regards to, okay, it is a bit of free transfer, so way up the business side of things as well. But obviously the footballer coming in. Just your general thoughts on it before we dissect it.
So we had a lot of outgoings this summer window. We had like at least 6 players leaving. And first of all, I see Eriksen as one of those players who can easily, he won't be a one-on-one replacement to the outgoings we had. But again, he is going to be one of those players who's going to increase the squad depth we have. Regarding what kind of player he is, everyone knows he is gentle on the ball. He is more artistic as compared to Bruno is artistic as well before I get shut down. But if I compare between Bruno and Eriksen on how they play, Bruno, relatively speaking, Bruno is a bit more erratic. He gives away the possession a lot more often than Eriksen, and he got this a very passionate personality on the pitch, which may or may not be to Erik ten Hag's liking. It may go in any other way, right? So I think Eriksen is brought in just to compete with Bruno on every other game to ensure that, okay, you just because you signed a contract, just because you signed the number 8 doesn't mean you are the only number 10 who's going to be playing. And also at the same time, Eriksen brings versatility to the team. He can slot in as number 6. He can slot in as a number 8. Sometimes he can slot in as a number 10. He even played as...
that was my next point here. Just Ashley brings up the point, the versatility of Eriksen being used in various parts of midfield. Is it lazy of us to just think in terms of the way we used to view Eriksen at Tottenham and the way he plays for Denmark? We just think he's a number 10. Is there an idea or a theory that, well, Erik ten Hag's bringing him in? Now, he's not going to be the Frenkie de Jong sort of plan B, but is there a solution? Is there a sort of idea that Christian Eriksen won't be the number 10 and he'll actually be in one of the midfield roles? Because so often some of these players, in the later stages of their career. I'm not saying Christian Eriksen's at the latter stage of his career, but he is it's his second chance, obviously, what happened at the Euro. So it's sort of a revitalised career. Sometimes these players do drop a little bit deeper into midfield. I think the prime example everyone sort of refers to is obviously David Silva, tricky little number 10. He almost became, I wouldn't call him a number 6, but he did sort of drop really deep into midfield and dictate play. So is there a chance where Christian Eriksen isn't really a direct sort of threat to Bruno Fernandes, and he's actually more in sort of the role of a Scott McTominay or a Fred?
Yeah, absolutely. But as you said, like after what he has went through, I don't think so. He is a direct replacement in case if we don't get Frenkie de Jong, and it's more like he I don't see him as a player medically, of course, that he can play the 50 odd games he's gonna play this season. He might give us a good strength and resolute like around 30 to 38 games probably. But I don't see him playing 50 odd games. So it just his versatility is something that is a benefit for us, and I don't see him him being there might be either a threat for Bruno or a threat for Scott McTominay or Fred. That's the way I see him. His versatility is something that can dictate the play, and he can dictate the play whether we are probably leading or whether we are trailing with 1 goal. So he might be brought in from the bench and asked to calm the team, asked to calm the players around him, keep more possession, not lose balls too often. So that's the way I see him. I do understand that the title says like, okay, it's either Bruno or Eriksen, but that's the way I look at it. I don't see him as a complete threat to Bruno, but yeah, it all depends on how Bruno takes care of himself during the whole season.
There's a comment here from Ian I want to bring up, and in regards to the whole discussion a couple of weeks ago before Christian Eriksen signed, there was this huge dilemma: like, should he show loyalty to Brentford in terms of them giving him a chance to come back to football, and should he be loyal to that, or is he taking the money at Manchester United? And that was a huge debate which sort of rumbled on for weeks. But there's no hiding from the fact that it is a huge debate in regards to his condition and what did happen. You can't just say, oh, it's in the past sort of thing. It was a serious issue where I'm sure Man United's doctors have been all over the medical, and rightly so. And look, I'm sure he's back to full fitness, but it is something there. And Ian brings a point up here. Why didn't you say medically he can't play that many games? And my question in regards to the Eriksen situation, in regards to his potential fitness going forward, obviously it's a concern, but you hope the club have done the right thing, and Christian Eriksen has done the right thing, and him and his doctors, I'm sure they have. However, is there I wouldn't say a concern on your behalf, but in regards to that, a little bit hesitant in regards to, everyone said, oh, Brentford, Man United, Christian Eriksen should have shown that loyalty to Brentford for taking a chance. In my opinion, United have taken a chance because has he proved himself to be, I know he's proved himself back, but you look at it was 11 games. It wasn't 111 games. Like, who's to say he's just come back in a nice little patch? Like, what sort of condition will he be in after a year of football? Now, he might be in perfect condition. Fingers crossed he will, and I'm sure he will be. But has he proven himself to be fit for like a long and strenuous season at Man United?
So, yeah, that's one of my concerns, right? Like, he hasn't played competitive football before getting to Brentford for more than a year, and then he gets to Brentford, he plays 11 games, and Brentford is a team where the opponents are not going to go crazy over Christian Eriksen, but you bring that player to Manchester United, whether you are a Wolves player or a Chelsea player, you're going to be targeted, and that's where I have this concern. You can't just bring a player who has gone through so much and feed him to the Sharks and make him play like 50 odd games. I think United should take it slow. And regarding the loyalty, come on, it's 2022, it's football.
I think United have shown great, whether loyalty is the right word or trust or belief. I think United need credit.
Trust. Yeah, absolutely. United should give credit, and also from Eriksen's point of view, he hasn't won a lot in his career. He's of course won the. I think he did win the league with Inter Milan, but I'm talking about Premier League. He hasn't won much, so probably giving him that opportunity and giving him that motivation can push him to the next level, and also he can take a much fuller approach on how he approaches football from then on. But I wouldn't say that he should just go guns blazing, go blind, and just start playing all 50-odd games. So that's the main reason. That's the only concern I have. Take it slow. Of course, it's at the end of the day, it's life, right? So you have to, no matter what game you're playing, what league you're playing, it's life at the end of the day. You have to take concern and constructive steps over there.
Just a quick last thing here before we wrap on Bruno and sort of move on to a little bit of a Ronaldo discussion. Tad here saying, Bruno, it's fantastic, but when we need to keep the ball and see the games out, I feel Eriksen would be so much better. You're Erik ten Hag, what do you weigh up as more important? If you're the manager, do you weigh up the better football and maybe playing better football as a team and creating maybe 10 more chances a season sort of thing with a Christian Eriksen? Or do you value the frustrating football but the guarantee of maybe 10 or 15 more goals by Bruno Fernandes? Like Bruno Fernandes is that risk taker who's going to frustrate but ultimately provides results. Or do you take the better football in regards to Christian Eriksen, maybe a little bit more pleasing on the eye and sort of not so much heart attack stuff for a coach? What do you value more? If
I was Erik, I would have played the two of them. But if, of course, we are not talking about that, it's an R. So I would, it all depends on the games we are versing, and as pragmatic Erik ten Hag is, he's gonna consider each player's position on the way they are gonna play and the opposition they are gonna meet. In case if there is we are facing an opposition who's gonna keep a lot of possession and who we really want to ensure with the little amount of possession we have to make chances. Of course, he's going to start Eriksen over Bruno over there. But in case if it's, again, a team that's more into counter-attack, where we need these, where we need to play these long-range, beautiful passes, which Bruno has done time and time again, that's a place where Bruno will be starting over Eriksen, hands down. But as I see it, there is quite a chance that he can play the two of them together with Lisandro Martinez covering the defense, but yeah, it's all. I'll be looking forward to see how Erik ten Hag brings out his first team in a couple of weeks against Brighton.
Yeah, well, it's not even that long. It's first week in August, sort of thing. So not far until we sort of get that first team selection. Obviously, we'll touch on the Atletico Madrid sort of preview before we do wrap up. But just in regards to that, we'll sort of move on. And if you are happy that Christian Eriksen obviously is an option for our squad now, please do leave a like on the video. That would be great. You're all holding your phone right now. Just bang, press like. Takes half a second. Make the world of difference to us. That would be fantastic. But moving on, and some good news. We didn't go live on it last night because we sort of just wrapped up a pod with Ben Thornley. If you haven't watched that, please do go back and had a good chat about some of the youth prospects this season with former Class of 92 player Ben Thornley. It was a great chat with him. But in regards to Lisandro Martinez, obviously was officially announced last night. Here we are. We knew he was going to be a player, but as I said, when you see the photos, when you see the interviews, you get a little bit, like a kid at Christmas sort of thing. You do get a little bit more excited, and I think everyone is in the same boat. It's one of those players, Vin, tell me, like, do I need to grow up? But it's just one of those ones where I fall for it every time. Like, I didn't know who the guy was a couple of months ago. So obviously maybe sort of saw him play in the Champions League, but he's not someone who I knew it was. Obviously, when you do watch Ajax play in the Champions League, they were on the front foot scoring goals. I wasn't sort of taking note of who their central defender was. So I know absolutely nothing about him besides my YouTube scouting over the last couple of weeks. But he's one of the players now, you hear him speak, you see him with the Man United shirt on. Again, a lot of people know I have a soft spot for some Argentinian players. I love the guy already. Have I just fallen victim to Man United sort of PR, the way they put these things out, or do I have a right to sort of fall for him already?
Who doesn't love an Argentinian who wears his heart on the sleeve and is ready to give everything for the team? The last time we signed an Argentinian, I wouldn't call him like as versatile, but an Argentinian who is like complete midfielder for us. I was heartbroken what happened over there. But I was, I'm looking forward to see him play. I've of course seen some of his games live on telly, and some of the YouTube highlights we all went through when we got to know that he's going to be signed. Man, if he comes up with the goods at a very competitive league, and he does what he did at Ajax, I'm gonna be a very happy man towards the end of the season. I'm quite sure.
A lot of people have said that he was Erik ten Hag's player of the season last year. We talk about Anthony, we talk about all these players, but Lisandro Martinez is in a title-winning team. Not often a defensive-minded player will win player of the season.
Yeah, in case if anyone hasn't watched his highlights, I would just go. There is this 9 to 13 minute clip that's on YouTube, which was against Borussia Dortmund. two games, both home and away games. You should go ahead and watch the amount of clearances, blocks, and the tackles he has done. He can be that particular defensive midfielder whom we've been missing for quite a long time. And even though he's not advertised as a defensive midfielder, in case if you're playing FIFA or something like that, he's versatile enough to play a center back. Sometimes he even slots in as a left back, and of course he can play central defensive midfielder. But I really hope he clicks for us, and he is the signing we missed all these years.
Well, he's one of those players I saw in his interview he did on the MUTV app or the Man United app. He's talking about his idol, and you talk about former Argentinians. He said his idol was Gabriel Heinze. And look, I know a lot of people have. See, he left with a sort of sour taste, obviously trying to force that move through to Liverpool. But as a Man United player, I absolutely loved him. I know things didn't work out fantastic, but he's an absolute. My favourite defender when he was at the club. I absolutely loved the way he used to go through players with his elbows. My favourite ever Premier League match, the 4-2 at Highbury in the black kit, Keenan Vieira in the tunnel. Gabriel Heinze was the catalyst for that match. First 30 seconds, I think he went and sort of elbowed Freddie Ljungberg in the face. Or was it Dennis Bergkamp? I forget who it was. But absolutely love Gabriel Heinze. So if Lisandro Martinez can replicate that type of performance at the back, obviously a left-sided central defender sort of thing, he obviously will be a fan favourite. So fingers crossed. And Adam here is saying, honestly, can't wait to see him play. Love the nickname. He has the Butcher. I think that is one thing, because when I used to play, the Butcher was kind of used as an insult. Whoever was the worst player and just sort of liked a little bit of a tackle. They were the ones who were sort of nicknamed the Butcher. But I think in Lisandro Martinez's case, I think it's a compliment. He obviously can play. He's an Argentinian international and plays for Ajax, so obviously can strike a ball. But he is one of those players I think will be a fan favourite. I think no matter how this season pans out, he is one player where, again, we do fall victim to this. We do fall for the hype in regards to these interviews. But I think when he talks about that sort of spirit and that winning mentality, and obviously Erik ten Hag's seen that and working with him and wanting to bring him to the club, I think he's one player that is genuine in regards to, you do believe in that he will give his all. Just comment here, a bit of super chat, our first ever super chat. Thank you, Erik. You can get a plaque up on my wall or something. That would be very enjoyable for that. Good evening, mates. Glad to see the super chat feature to help the channel since I can't buy the New South Wales Supporters Club. Ronaldo out. Frenkie de Jong stop pursuing. Thank you for that. I do truly appreciate that. We might as well just go on to that point because he's made a little bit of a contribution to the channel. Thanks for that, Erik. Ronaldo out. Then Ronaldo definitely wants out. And it just... First of all, just your 2 cents on the situation as it stands at the moment. We know what could potentially happen, what potentially might not happen. But in regards to that, just when this news broke, obviously a little bit before we went to Melbourne for the tour, just what do you make of the situation? Because I try and tell everyone, and look, both sides of the argument are very valid. Well, it's so easy, and I get clouded by the emotion. I know I do. But it is such an emotional subject. A lot of people say, no, it's black and white. He's just like any other player. And look, I do agree with that, and I'd like to think like that. I just can't. I do get sort of clouded by the emotion. So just your thoughts on the situation before we sort of go through it a little bit.
Yeah. So Ronaldo, when he was announced and when he did this first interview with Sky Sports, he gave this passionate 2-minute or 3-minute video where he was talking about his love for the club, where he said, like, he's not here for the money. He's here to get Manchester into the back to where they belong. And now, 12 months down the line, we are now, not even 12 months down the line, we are now hearing murmurs about, or even news about, like, he wants to go out. And as a fan, I think, like, oh, wait a minute, you're just like any other football player. But then I look at the personality and look at the career he has had, and then I look at whatever he has done in his career. And he's reaching towards the twilight of his career. Probably he'll play 3 years max if he is keeping up with the stage. And for him to lose out on 1 season of Champions League, I do understand personally it's going to impact him more. But as a fan, I really don't care. But from a player's perspective, I do understand why he's trying to force out a move. I really hope that if he stays, head down, earn your spot. You cannot just waltz into the starting.
Where do you sit on that in regards to a lot of people say, okay, do you want to keep an unhappy player? Do we want Frenkie de Jong, who doesn't want to be a Man United player? We're clamouring for him to come to the club sort of thing. But at the moment, a lot of the discussion against Ronaldo is, well, he doesn't want to be here, get rid of him. Let's face the facts. In terms of the options, there aren't many options for him. So there is a chance, even if he's sort of so adamant on wanting to leave, there is a very strong possibility he is stuck at the club. And I'm just thinking, how do you think he does sort of, because he does come with this sort of persona that the toys sort of will be started to be thrown out of the Prem. However, he is such a professional. And I'm just thinking, how do you weigh up if he isn't happy? I don't think Ronaldo's sort of never not been happy. He's always been where he wanted to be. He's always got what he wanted. If he doesn't get what he wants here, how do you think he'll react?
I think he will use it as a motivation to get to the next level, and he will perform his best to bring United back into the top four. And by doing that, he will win the fans, and also at the same time, he will play Champions League next season. That's the way I look at it. I don't see him as the personality, and of course, he's been working nonstop for the last 20, 25 years, including his teenage years, of course. And I haven't seen him perform less than 100% when he's brought onto the pitch. He's always given his everything. That's how good a professional he is. So if he stays and if he's unhappy, it's only going to be for a short time. I think he's going to lose all that emotions when the crowd starts singing Viva Ronaldo at the Stratford end. He's going to forget about it, and he's going to bang some goals. That's the way I'm going to see it.
Do you fear for his legacy at times? Because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he won't be a club." I think if he moves to Chelsea, that's something obviously going to hurt, and we're going to have a different discussion now. Do I see him going to Chelsea? I don't think so. I think the club have a huge responsibility in to stop that happening for a lot of reasons. But let's say a lot of people say, no, if he leaves, he's not a legend for me. And look, everyone's entitled to that opinion. But the argument I would use back when I'm having that debate with mates is Wayne Rooney. In regards to, I think he's sort of unanimously amongst the fan base now. I think sort of time heals everything, and a lot of people do have him as a club legend now, and rightly so. Let's look at the fact with Wayne Rooney. Obviously tried to go to Manchester City mid-season, then signed a new contract, then didn't go on pre-season tour to Australia. Here we are, Ronaldo didn't come to Australia. Rooney didn't come to Australia either because he was forced to move through to Chelsea when David Moyes came in. Wayne Rooney stayed, obviously became Man United's greatest ever goal scorer, so all was sort of forgiven. And rightly so, in my opinion. But I'm just thinking, well, quick to forgive Wayne Rooney, and as I said, rightly so. But I'm just thinking that is where some people, I think, I understand the frustration towards Ronaldo, and I share it. And if he leaves, I will share that frustration. But I think everyone, in my opinion, should hold their horses a little bit, and because there is a chance, whether you like him or not, that Ronaldo is our number 7 in a couple of weeks' time. And whatever that situation does look like, we're going to have to support him.
Absolutely. I listened to this recent podcast by our friends from The Athletic. I think Laurie Whitwell was talking about the Rooney fiasco back in 2013, and even the one when Ferguson was around. And I think when Moyes was the manager, the first game was away against Swansea or something. And that's when a group in the crowd started singing Wayne Rooney songs, and soon the whole away section joined them. So it might be just a few of us who might be looking at the bigger picture. It might be just a few of us who might be really disappointed in case if he stayed and we find like, okay, he's not a legend anymore. But looking at the big picture, he is the guy who wanted to go to Real Madrid twice in 2 seasons, and Ferguson asked him to stay behind, and he stayed back and he waited for one more season and then he left. So he has already done that. So, and still we treated him as legend when he got back. We still gave him the same amount of warmth and love. And back then United were in the Champions League, and he wanted to go to Real Madrid because it was his dream. So now it's literally the same thing. His dream is to play Champions League time and time again, and United are not in the Champions League. And for him to still go ahead and fulfill his dream, I don't think so. His legendary status will be tarnished. Of course, there will be some disappointment. But when we look back, and if he comes back to United, let's say he's going to be a coach, or even if he becomes an honorary member or just a visiting personality watching the game, people are going to sing his songs. People are still going to love him. No one can take back the memories and the trophies he had won for us.
Yeah, look, I'm sure this debate, we're going to be having this every day until I think the end of the window. I don't think it's something, I'd hope it would have a quick resolution to it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It does seem like he's training. He is back and he's training with the team apparently. Last couple of days, I don't think he played in the match against Wrexham, but he's back in training. That is all. We would prefer to see him on tour, of course, but at the moment, as if in tomorrow, that's all we can ask for. So fingers crossed, everything is all good at Carrington. We'll just go through some comments before we start to wrap up. There's one more topic I do want to sort of discuss on. George here saying Ronaldo has broken his promise to United fans, let him leave. Look, I understand that, but I also think, and maybe me being a little bit cynical, I'd say I think United have broken some promises as well. And I think they sold him down the river a little bit. But Ian here saying Rooney has a greater legacy than Ronaldo. But I agree, can't see. Look, with Rooney, yeah, I think over time, I think on the outlook, if I was just who's a bigger player for Man United, Ronaldo or Rooney, my first instinct would be Ronaldo. But now, if you sit back and look at it, it's Wayne Rooney. I think, of course, it is. Yes, Ronaldo is the greater player. But in regards to contribution to United, yes, Wayne Rooney, definitely not in doubt in regards to his legacy. Erik here saying Champions League, he's on his way out instead of saying help us win the Europa League, get in the top 4 to reach the Champions League. If you really cared about helping the club reach the levels of where we used to be. And Ryan here, I think this is the disappointing thing for me. Well, whatever, are we better with Ronaldo or are we better without Ronaldo? It's okay. It's up for debate. But this is my issue. We just got rid of these things in regards to Pogba and Lingard and this circus that sort of sticks itself to the club. And this is something Erik ten Hag, I don't need it as a fan, let alone Erik ten Hag walking into Man United. He doesn't need this sort of distraction, unfortunately. That's what he's got. And I think that adds huge weight 21 wanting to get rid of Ronaldo. That is a huge thing in regards to this unfortunate distraction he does, whether his own doing or it's just off the sort of media beast that he's created himself. Unfortunately, that it sort of is the situation at Man United. But Adam here saying, get this Sesko guy. We're interested in scored against Liverpool this morning. That's enough for me. His name is starting to pop around, but there's always those names every couple of weeks that sort of pop around. So it will be interesting. I think it was one of those things, even when Cavani left, Martial was on loan, Ronaldo was our number one striker and very happy at the club. Everyone still wanted a striker. So if you're going to sell Ronaldo and Martial's maybe not that many, you still need a striker anyway. So I think it's one of those things we're talking about, getting number 6 or another right back, etc. I think striker is still potentially a huge issue for Man United. It will be interesting to see how Erik ten Hag does view that situation. But I just want to bring this one back up as well, again, because it's our first ever super chat. So thank you, Erik. I want to bring it up again. But just in regards to the next topic, he does bring up in that comment saying Frenkie de Jong, stop pursuing. Vin, I like Frenkie de Jong as a player, but I couldn't agree more with Erik there. And again, if Frenkie de Jong walks through the door, I'll be holding a Dutch scarf up, so singing Frenkie de Jong's name. I'll absolutely love him. But the way things are going at the moment, and speaking of Ben Thornley last night as well, now I'm not saying James Garner is a better player than Frenkie de Jong, or that would be a better player with James Garner over Frenkie de Jong. But in terms of the distraction, we talk about the situation around Ronaldo and it's a circus. It's a circus around Frenkie de Jong. I'm just thinking it's got to the stage for me personally. Now, I'll prove myself wrong and I'll disagree with myself in 24 hours. But at the moment where I sit now, Vin, I'm picking James Garner over Frenkie de Jong just to get on with it and sort of continue on with what Man United's about and sort of giving these young players a chance.
So, yeah, James Garner does need a chance for sure. And he is, in his recent interview, he did spoke about that he wants to play quite frequently, just the way he played at Nottingham Forest. And regarding the Frenkie de Jong circus, I think it's something United are always attracted to, some circuses, like either it's Frenkie de Jong, either it's Pogba, either it's now Ronaldo. So I think United have to move forward from it. And of course, the board has done Erik a huge favor by still sticking to his top target. I do understand he really, really wants him, but Frenkie is not ready to budge. He is probably fine playing centre back for Barcelona or even play goalkeeping for them. But I don't understand if the player doesn't want to come. And we have spent literally 2 months chasing a player who doesn't want to be here, who doesn't want to play in a Europa League team, no matter what the project is, no matter it's a coach he had played with or he enjoyed playing for. So I think it's high time we move past it. But it's United. People are still talking about United. People are still talking about Frenkie.
What do you sit on that point? Because I completely agree. But just to hammer home that point you make there, and let's tie it into the Ronaldo's discussion. I know it's two different situations, but in the essence, I think it's quite similar in regards to we're all saying if Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't want to be here, leave. And I stand by that sentiment. I completely agree. Frenkie de Jong doesn't want to be here. Why we're going spending all our money on bringing him to the club if he doesn't want to be here? And I think it's a very similar thing. And look, again, if Frenkie de Jong walks through the door, I'd absolutely love him. But at the moment, it's just the hypocritical nature of fans. We don't quite see the full picture and we just want sort of these quick fixes. But you sort of, now, yes, Frenkie de Jong's a professional. If he comes through Man United, he's happy with his wage and he's happy with the manager, I'm sure he'll be very happy and he'll perform to the best of his ability. But can you break it down to us in simple terms and say, well, I don't want him because he doesn't want it. He's not forcing this move through to United.
Yes, we can probably hang on to that. There's been so many players who forced a move to go to a team, and they done that. They have the power to do that. And Frankie, already has the higher power. He has unpaid wages. He's been playing.
He's in a tough spot. To be fair to him, he's in a very tough spot.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that United, Barcelona, and Frankie should sit down together and address it if Frankie wants to come to United. But they can address it right away. It's just let's take United out of the picture, even though we are a United podcast. But let's say Chelsea gets in and says, okay, they are giving the same deal to Frankie, but the only thing is they guarantee Champions League football. Do you think Frankie is going to force a move? Of course he's going to force a move. It's just right now the position United are in, it's not attractive to him, no matter if he has played with a coach already. It's not just attractive to him. And from a player's perspective, he's okay to go through the whole starting from the bench and also not playing to his perfect position. He's going to play defense. So he's ready to do that, then come to United. But again, we are hypocrites. The first thing it's going to be announced, Frankie's going to be a United player. We are going to get our jerseys printed with his name and going to yell Frankie. So that's the way it is. But as of now, personally, I really feel United should stop pursuing that black hole. We should probably focus in bringing an academic talent like James Garner into the furore. And also Ten Hag did speak about in his interview that if not Frankie, we do have some players within the squad who are capable enough to do the job. So probably they are already working on plan B, whether or not we are signing a player or not. So that's where the motivation to get to the top four or to a Champions League place this coming season is very, very imperative. It's very important.
Well, George here is saying buy Neves and forget Frankie. And it's one of the things where I do want to move on from Frenkie de Jong and sort of address the issue. And I know we should always strive for plan A, but sometimes, unfortunately, the way football works, sometimes you do need a plan B or plan C. My fear with a lot of people saying a Neves or a Tielemans, my fear there is, well, everyone knows Man United need a midfielder. Everyone knows we've got 7 or 80 million to spend on Frenkie de Jong. Suddenly, if that doesn't happen, Wolves will say, well, hang on, you got 80 million set aside for Frenkie de Jong. That's not happening. We'll take the 80 million. And because it's late in the window, let's add another 20 million. And I'm not saying Ruben Neves is going to cost 100 million, but that is the type of thing that will happen with clubs like that, knowing that Man United are so desperate. And that is where I would lean more towards. And again, my opinion might change in 24 hours, but my opinion at the moment would stand towards maybe giving James Garner a chance. Now, is that good enough for Manchester United to strive to be the best? I'm not sure, but in terms of what Man United is built on and affording these young players that opportunity, I think if James Garner wasn't a young academy player and he was just providing what he did at Nottingham Forest, we'd probably want to buy him for 20 or 30 million. So I'm just thinking, well, there's our 20 or 30 million pound signing. If Frenkie de Jong doesn't come through, let's give him a crack. But do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Just as we wrap up, Ian here saying we know nothing of the truth about Frenkie de Jong. No way would be chasing someone who doesn't want or can't move. The club ain't that bad, which is my ray of hope, which is where I think surely you're correct in 100%. However, the club has burned me before. The club has made bad decisions that seem illogical. They do that numerous times. So I agree they can't be this stupid. Then I sit back and look at some of the stuff they have done in recent seasons. I think, well, maybe they are that stupid. So it will be interesting. And I think, not to criticise, but I think a lot of the fingers, if this doesn't fall through, will have to be pointed at Erik ten Hag in regards to those conversations he had with Frenkie de Jong and how sort of what a read he had on him. It will be interesting to see. Adam here saying, I think he's waiting to receive the 17 million he's owed, then he'll start negotiating with us, which is obviously a huge thing in regards to, as Ian said, we don't know the full details. My thing is, okay, if these are deferred wages, surely even if he comes to United, he's still owed the wages. Like now, someone with employment law background will be able to say, no, that's not the case. Or I'm sure there's sort of so many complexities to it, but I'm sure he could get those wages in England. Like Barcelona is still owing the money.
Absolutely, he would get those wages, but I think the thing is, like, the priority of him getting the wages being a Barcelona player would be higher than a priority of him getting those wages as a player who plays.
It would just be a very messy situation. It would be something that tied up in court, which no one wants. And you don't want Frenkie de Jong coming to Man United and having that in the back of his mind of having to go back and Spain every weekend to deal with a court case sort of thing. That's obviously a messy situation, which won't help his on-field performances. Ashby here with a point, which just Barcelona's mess. They just got Koundé, so Frenkie de Jong's not getting his millions, which you laugh at, Vin. it's right. Like what they're doing, like we talk about players showing respect or clubs showing respect towards players. And Barcelona and Xavi say, we love Frenkie de Jong. What a fantastic player he is. We hope we can keep him, but the financial situation's a bit hard, so we have to evaluate the situation. They're not respecting him. In regards to they're going and getting all these shiny new toys, they're playing him out of position. Surely Frenkie de Jong, if he doesn't want to come to United, my question to him is, why do you want to stay at Barcelona? Like, they're not showing you any respect at all.
Yeah, so that's the thing, because no other club who are in the Champions League have gone for him as we have, and of course we are not in Champions League. So that's why I put that hypothetical scenario. Let's say a Chelsea or a Bayern Munich goes for him, he'll be out of the door right away, and he'll ensure he's being paid. It's just he's not forcing a move because Manchester United is not his current destination. That's the only thing I feel. Otherwise, a player has a power to force a move, and of course, it's a player whom Barcelona also wants to offload. So he is the only guy who has to take this decision. So if he's not taking it, it kind of shows that he's not interested.
Yeah, look, like the Ronaldo discussion, we're going to have plenty of these over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you are subscribed for plenty more Frenkie de Jong and Ronaldo discussion. But just before we wrap up, there's one or two more comments. Aaron here saying, love Ronaldo, but if he doesn't want to stay, then sell him to the best offer outside the Premier League. That's a big thing for me. If he wants to leave, feel free, go wherever. Don't go to Chelsea. That's my main thing. As for de Jong, forget him. He clearly doesn't want to come to Man United, so we shouldn't keep the circus. Let's move on, which I completely agree with. George here saying, why not develop Hannibal, Mabry, and Zidane Iqbal to be the central defensive midfielder, which is what Ben Thornley and I discussed last night in regards to that. I think it's a huge risk, and Erik ten Hag will soon find out that he's not in the business of taking risks at Man United, because his job will be on the line, unfortunately, every single time Saturday rolls around. So it's a big thing. It's easy for us as fans to say, play the youth. When your job is on the line as a manager, that's going to be an extremely difficult position for Erik ten Hag to trust the youth. But ultimately, to succeed at Man United, whether it be a player or a manager, Vin, risk is a huge part of it. The risk does need to be taken if you want the rewards.
Absolutely. I was just going to talk about that. Like, even though Ten Hag doesn't really bother about what the press talks about it or not, but imagine every other game where United is losing a point or losing all 3 points, there is going to be this talk if we don't sign Frenkie de Jong, why there is no signings that were made. You had so many options, so they are going to bring him down, but the journalists are going to bring him down by using the same statement again and again. And that's why I earlier said there might be a possibility he's already nurturing some of the talents within, like James Garner or even Fred, to probably do the role. So you really don't know. Of course, no one's going to come out in the open and say, like, okay, we don't have Frenkie de Jong, so we are going to use this person as a player. And Ten Hag is someone who plays his cards close to the chest. So that's the way I see it. But I really hope that chasing Frenkie de Jong for such a long time is not going to be a bit of a void. Like, as I said, every single time United performs a bit weird in the midfield, the name's going to be taken over and over again. And then the fans, of course, they are going to be against him, and soon some of them will be tweeting Erik out.
It's a huge thing, which I think a lot of people have sort of overlooked in regards to the relationship between Frenkie de Jong and Erik ten Hag. Let's say, okay, Frenkie de Jong is the main man. He's going to be the perfect sign for Erik ten Hag. The pressure that puts on Erik ten Hag in terms of he has to play Frenkie. We talk about players being on big contracts, and does that force them to play, or does the club sort of value their marketability? Does that mean they have to play? Frenkie de Jong is going to have to play, and Frenkie de Jong is going to have to be player of the season. Because if we lose a game, it's on Frenkie de Jong, and why did we spend so much money on him? We should have got someone else. And the pressure that adds to both the player and the manager, I think, is huge. And it's one of those situations where, as I say, in a week's time, Frenkie de Jong's holding up a Man United shirt. What a signing it is. But at the moment where I stand, Vin, and look, it has to be James Garner for me. And just to move on with it, I've got maybe I'm showing my old age, Vin, you're the same age as me, but just maybe show my age where just looking at things where what I get, the chat with Ben Thornley yesterday, just sort of a stark reminder on the things we enjoy about Manchester United. We were down in Melbourne last week. The worst thing about the tour, not the worst thing, but the thing that got in the way of the tour the most was the football, the pre-season match. Man United was everything else. It was hanging out with fans. It was getting autographs. I mean, that was everything else. It was going to the pub. Where Man United isn't just about the 90 minutes on the pitch. It's about watching youth players come through and making mistakes, and can they go and develop, have a career at Man United or elsewhere. And that is where at the moment, throughout all this frustration with de Jong, my excitement has shifted towards it, whether it be a Charlie Savage or a Zidane Iqbal or if you're a betting man, a James Garner. But that is definitely sort of where I'm leaning towards here. George, good to have you in the chat tonight, mate. Good to have your opinions and input. And just last super chat here. Thank you, mate. Erik, again, I do appreciate the support. Cheers to Vin as well for having some good shoulders on his head and providing good input and opinions on today's stream. Big up, guys. Glory, glory. Man United, mate. Erik, we do truly appreciate your support with the super chat options. Just a reminder that the super chat option is there, and I think there's a donation thing for anyone watching on playback. Any donations that do come into the stream, it just goes straight back into the channel in regards to helping us run StreamYard, or in regards to getting maybe a better camera or microphone for Larry and I, or any guests that do come on. So we're not pocketing any of this money. Any donations we do get to go straight back into the channel. But we do truly appreciate that support, not just the support, but everyone's input in regards to opinions, because there's been a few discussions tonight, Vin, and sort of a few different topics. And I think we've sort of handled it quite well in regards to debating both sides, because as I say, the Bruno versus Eriksen debate could get ugly, and it could be saying, well, sell Bruno Fernandes, he's no good because I want this type of player. But I think it's a balanced argument. The Ronaldo situation is obviously going to get highly emotional, and some people are saying, get the F out of my club. Some people are saying, give him a new bumper, new contract to make him happy. So there are sort of divisive topics. But it is always good to have a chat with you, mate, and sort of dissect it and sort of see both sides of the fence.
Absolutely loved it. And thanks, Erik. Thanks for your wonderful comments. And yeah, can't wait to get back on again and chat with you guys again.
Well, there'll be plenty of time. As I said, Larry is still sort of trotting around Europe, so we'll definitely have Vin on again soon. As I said, we haven't even touched on the Atletico Madrid match. We might do a review. I think is that a Saturday night our time?
I think it's on a Saturday night, yeah. Is that the game you're playing in Norway, isn't it?
Yeah, Norway against Atletico Madrid, and the game, I think it's a day or two later, back at Old Trafford against Vallecano. So you would assume the strongest team, or the team that will play against Brighton, will play against Atletico Madrid. That's a guess, in my opinion. Who knows how that will unfold, but that would be my guess in there. So we'll be interested. Maybe be back sometime on the weekend to discuss that. Fingers crossed that match is televised. Man United played Wrexham yesterday, wasn't televised, so hopefully we can get our fix this week. But until then, if you are holding your phone, which you are, please do leave a like on the video. That'd be fantastic. If you aren't subscribed, please do, so you can join us when we do go live. And Vin, always a pleasure as always.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. And we'll chat to everyone in the live chat sometime throughout the weekend. So have a good weekend, everyone. Cheers.